Good morning, fight fans. Welcome to the Friday, June 7th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, taking you through the latest in MMA. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. Check this podcast out at MMAOddsbreaker.com and, of course, on our YouTube channel. Also, check me out at ShirdArt.com, BJPen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMAratings.net. Quite a bit to talk about today, actually. PFL happened last night, so I'll recap that. Tonight, Invicta FC 35 happened, so I'll take a preview of that as well. Actually, some odds just dropped for that, so we have some odds to talk about. Also, a couple of fight announcements to bring up here, and yeah, I mean it's going to be a pretty jam-packed show, especially for a Friday. So happy Friday, everyone! But let's get right into it because I don't want to waste any time here. So I'll start with UFC. Excuse me, with PFL 14. Let's just get right into it. It happened last night in New York, Uniondale, New York. Some crazy finishes last night. Quite a few upsets, actually, so I'm not surprised by that. If you guys remember, I did preview the card yesterday. Unfortunately, I didn't have odds at the time, but I did kind of predict a few of the upsets at least, including in the main event where a good friend of mine, Vinny Mogulus, got knocked out by Emiliano Sordi. I said this yesterday, this could happen. I love Vinny, but he is getting up there in age now, and Emiliano Sordi is a knockout artist, so I'm not totally shocked at all that happened. So Sordi knocked Vinny out in the second round with punches. Obviously, he gets 3 points for the win, 2 more points for the second round knockout. Good win for Sordi. For Vinny, back-to-back knockout losses now. Very, very disappointing for him. I don't know what's next for Vinny. I mean, at this point, he's 34 years old. He's got a family. He's got young children at home. Does he call it a career? Does he just go back to doing jiu-jitsu? Does he just go back to teaching? I don't know. Maybe he'll fight again. He's a warrior at heart. He has lost before and came back and won again, so he might fight again. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I mean, I think he has a lot of other stuff going on besides MMA, so it's really up to him, But love the guy. It's hard to see him get knocked out like that because he is really a great guy. But the Sordi guy is something special. I think he's a really good talent in that division. So I definitely watch out for this guy going forward. He's been finished himself a couple times, but that was a really good knockout last night, and congrats to him getting the win. Also, co-main event, I guess. I mean, technically, the fights all mean the same. But anyways, the co-main event, Kelvin Tiller, another guy I said could win, submitted Muhammad Darius in the first round. So good for Tiller, the mama's boy. He picked up the win there. Gets back in the win column after losing to Jared Rochal in his last fight. This guy's got a pretty good ground game. I mean, being Darius, he also submitted Jared Rochal in their first fight. So he's got a pretty good ground game. Kind of an underrated fighter, I think. I picked him because I thought he was a lot bigger, and he was. Darius, again, he had some good knockouts over guys like Mike Kyle and stuff, but I remember that fight against Khalil Roundtree and tough, and he got so tired, and his ground game didn't look good. So no real shocker there. Next up, by the way, the odds. Okay, so yes, Tiller was a plus 130 dog, and for Sordi, he was a plus 425 dog. So, I mean, I think anyone should have taken a shot on that one on Sordi anyways, because as good as Vinny is, again, 34 years old, his chin is kind of declining at this point. Sordi at plus 425 was a good bet. Next up, Satoshi Ishii beat Zeke Tunei-Willie by split decision. So very, very close fight here. Disappointing performance by Ishii in his PFL debut. Still got the win, but a split decision over a guy that really has no experience. That's not very good. Ishii did cash. He was by 735, but not a good bet because he could have easily lost that decision. Denis Goltsov knocked out Jared Rochal in the first round, so he picks up 6 points in the heavyweight division. Good win for this guy, Goltsov. He was a minus 270 favorite to get the win over Rochal, who, I mean, at one point, this guy actually was a pretty promising heavyweight prospect just based on his wrestling, but that chain is just very scary at this point. Next up, Ali Isev beat Valdrin Istrefi by decision. Isev was a massive favorite, biggest favorite in the card, minus 1475, so no surprise there, but if anything, it's disappointing this guy couldn't get the finish because he was such a huge favorite, almost 15-1. Next up, Victor Nemkov beat Rakeem Cleveland by decision. Again, no surprise there, minus 325 for Nemkov over Cleveland. Ronnie Marks actually got the win over Sika Piselli. This guy made a mistake by taking this fight. He got knocked out in the second round. He was a bad knockout, too. He got taken down, beat up on the ground. I don't know what his management was thinking. I mean, honestly, he had a walkover win. He didn't need to fight. So to me, this was always going to be a setup fight for Ronnie Marks. Again, he has some ties to the PFL hierarchy. They gave him an easy fight here. He destroyed this guy, but he missed weight, so he got 0 points. And this guy, Pesticelli, hopefully he comes back and he's able to compete in this tournament. But I mean, at this point, like maybe with that knockout loss, he might take some time off. I don't know. We'll see. PFL's had guys get knocked out, come back very soon. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think he made a mistake by taking the fight. And Mark's won at -260, so he cashed as far as the bet goes. But as far as the tournament goes, he didn't get any points because, again, he missed weight. So you get 0 points when you miss weight. Next up, Rashid Yusupov beat Mikhail Makhachev by decision. Yusupov, another big favorite, -285, so really no surprise there. Next up, Francimar Barroso beat Alex Nicholson by split decision. Close fight for sure, but I kind of thought this would kind of play out the way it did. I mean, Barroso's very good at winning these tight, kind of ugly decisions, and he ended up winning a splitter, so good for him. -140 favorite. The guy actually is a decent fighter, not exciting fighter by any means, but is a decent fighter. He knows how to win fights, so good for him getting the win over Nicholson here at -140. Next up, actually, one of the bigger upsets in the card. Obviously, Sorty was the biggest upset, and also Tiller. But here's another one. I didn't really see this one coming. Maxime Grishin beating Jordan Johnson by decision. He really dominated Jordan Johnson. He even knocked him down late. Johnson, very disappointing debut in PFL for him. The guy was in the UFC undefeated, pretty much finishing everyone on the regional scene. Goes to the UFC, beats people by decisions. Gets a finish his last fight, and then comes here and loses the decision. So disappointing for Johnson for sure. But for Grishin, I mean, this is a big win for him. He was a +250 underdog, so one of the bigger favorites on the card to cash. And honestly, looking at his record, I mean, the line was probably a little bit off. Like, I think Johnson should have been favored, but not as big as he was. Like, this guy's actually not bad. He's got a lot of good wins on his resume. His last loss to Magomed Ankalaev, that's his only loss in the last 8 years. So the guy's pretty good, and a lot of experience. He is an older guy. I think that's why people are fading him, but clearly the line was too high, and he ended up beating Jordan Johnson. Next up, Ante Dalia beats Carlos Montoya by decision. No surprise there again. Carlos Montoya is, what is his record? I think it's 11-10. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah, he's 11-10. So he's essentially a 500 fighter. Exciting guy. He's got some knockout power. He can finish some guys at the lower levels, but bad matchup for him here. And Dalia was a -580 favorite. And first fight of the night, actually, there was a little bit of upset, mini upset, +105 underdog. Bazagit Atiev beat Dan Spawn by knockout in the first round. He picks up 6 points. That was a rematch, actually, and Spawn won last year by knockout. So definitely a surprise. I mean, again, Atiev he's an experienced veteran. He's been around forever. Rings, Pride, PFL now. But still, he was an older guy, 40 years old, and he lost the first fight. So definitely a bit of an upset. And if anything, I'm surprised the odds weren't a little bit wider there. But yes, so 4 underdogs won. Again, Emiliano Sordi +425, Kelvin Tiller +130, Maxim Grishin +250, and Bazagi Atiev +105. So 4 dogs cashed on PFL. I wasn't able to watch the card live. I had some other stuff to do, but I did catch the highlights. They're really good at putting the highlights up on their Twitter, by the way. And it's not geo-blocked either, so Canadians can watch that stuff. It was definitely a pretty good card from what I've seen. Definitely some fights that went some ugly decisions. Maybe too many fights, though, if anything. I saw some people complaining about that, just saying there was a little, maybe the card dragged on. But I think that's probably because there were so many fights that went the full distance. Because there's only 12 fights in the card, so I think that's pretty standard. It's just a lot of the fights dragged on a little bit, and there were some finishes, but yeah, quite a few decisions actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 decisions out of 12 fights in the heavyweight and light heavyweight division. So, yeah, I mean, when that happens, you tend to see some ugly fights. So, overall, though, there's some good wins here. And some guys that are going to be promising looking forward. Like, I really think the Sorty guy is someone to look out for. Grishin as well with that big win. And then you have the big favorites there that they won their fights as expected. So, definitely looking forward to seeing their next card. Okay, so PFL is done. Next up, let's talk about – actually, I'll wait for Invicta here. I'm going to do some there's some fight announcements, so I'll talk about those quickly. Okay, so the UFC 242 card continues to get stacked. Man, I love this card. It's looking so good, guys, so good. What a hell of a fight here. Mairbek Taisumov taking out Carlos Diego Ferreira in the lightweight division. I mean, what a hell of a fight. This is an amazing fight. I love both these guys. Mairbek Taisumov, 28-5 record, 30 years old. He is 7-1 in the UFC. With 5 knockout wins. He's on a 6-fight win streak right now. He's lost once in the UFC to Michel Prazeres, where he was taken down and just grinded it out. That was 5 years ago now, so it's been a while since he's lost his last fight. He has problems with the visa getting into the States. I don't know if he'll ever fight again in the States. He has fought there, but it was a long, long time ago. back in 2011. So it's been years since he fought in the States. But when this guy does fight, he's a really incredible fighter. Missed weight in his last fight against Desmond Green, but still got the win. It's nice to see him get back soon, though. That was in September. Now he's coming back. Generally, he only fights once a year, so hopefully he can be in a more consistent schedule this year. He is fighting again in September, so again, the 1 year thing is kind of playing out, but maybe he can fight before the end of the year and get 2 fights in this year. I think Taisumov is great, but again, with that visa holding him back, will the UFC ever give him a title shot? I don't think so. He is a top 15 guy, though, in my opinion. And then he's taking on Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's also a tremendous fighter, 15-2 record, 6-2 in the UFC, 4 straight wins, coming off a win over Rustam Khabilov, a bit of an upset there. Guy's great. He obviously had an issue at UFC 237 in Rio, where it was crazy. That was there. It was almost a month ago when I was in Brazil, so it's crazy how fast the time flies. But yes, I remember seeing him on the beach the day after with his family. I know Aaron Ross there, my friend, started talking to him and talking to him about what happened, and he had some issues, I think, with kidney stones. So really unfortunate, but he's coming back really soon, so good for him in September. I feel bad for Geraldo, though. Geraldo didn't do anything wrong. He doesn't have a fight booked yet, so that's kind of strange to me, if anything. I hope he got his show money that night. I don't know if he did. I hope he did. But yeah, I like this fight a lot. I mean, good for Ferreira. I'm glad he's coming back. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of weird how Geraldo is the guy who's healthy and doesn't have a fight booked yet. But anyways, as far as who I think should be favored goes, I mean, both guys are great. I've been betting on Ferreira lately because he's been an underdog in a couple of his fights. I don't know about this one, though. I mean, Taisumov is tremendous, man, and I think he matches up well against Ferreira, so I'd have to favor Taisumov. He's usually a big favorite in his fights, and for good reason. The guy's a really good fighter. I wouldn't count Ferreira out by any means, but I think Taisumov should probably be favored here. Also in that card, here's another great fight. Man, like I said, this card is just looking so damn good, guys. Wow. The UFC's really putting a good show here for the Abu Dhabi fans. A tremendous lightweight bout between Islam Makhachev and Davey Ramos. I love this fight. So Islam Makhachev, 17-1 record. He's 6-1 in the UFC. He's on a 5-fight win streak, coming off a fight of the night win over Arman Tasukian. Yeah, it was a more competitive fight than it should have been based on like the line, but it was a really good fight to watch. And he's looked good in the UFC overall. I mean, beating Cajun Johnson by submission, beating Grayson Tebow. He also beat Nick Lenz, Chris Wade. He had the one knockout loss, the one hiccup against Adrian Martins, who at the time was actually a really good fighter. Not sure what happened to Martins. He's kind of fallen off, but Makhachev's good, man. So he's tremendous. And then now he's taking on Davey Ramos, who's also a really good fighter, 10-2 record, 4-1 in the UFC. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He just beat Austin Hubbard just earlier, actually last month in May. So a quick turnaround for Davey Ramos. 32 years old. He's really good. Don't get me wrong, but I think he did show some holes in that Austin Hubbard fight. If he can't get Makhachev to the ground, I do think he'll have issues doing that. I think Makhachev can keep the fight standing and outstrike this guy and beat him. So I like Makhachev in this matchup. Love Ramos too. If he gets the fight to the ground, he can submit anyone. But I favor Makhachev, and I think he'll probably be a decent sized favorite. Although Ramos is usually a big favorite too, so the line will be interesting for sure. A couple other fight announcements quickly before I talk about Invicta. UFC China gets a fight. UFC they're going back to China in August. Luana Carolina's taking Yanan Wu, so interesting fight here. Luana Carolina, 6-1. She just beat Priscilla Cachoeira in Brazil. I saw that fight again. Really good fight, actually. Very, very good fight. She's a pretty good striker. Definitely a decent performance in her debut. Six straight wins. So she's a promising prospect, 25 years old. Taking on Yanan Wu here, 10-2 record. Only 23 years old. Coming off a win over Lauren Mueller by armbar. That was a really big upset, actually. A really good win. She also lost to Gina Massini. She lost to Yana Kunitskaya as well. But she has some good wins in her record. I don't know. A tough one to call here for sure. The fact it's in China and Wu is younger makes me lean towards her a little bit. But Carolina's, I think, a pretty solid fighter too. So this is going to be a close fight. I expect the line to be very close. Not the kind of fight I'd personally want to bet on just because I think it'd go either way. But I think Wu's probably going to be favored just a little bit just based on the fact it's in China. Also, the last fight announcement here from the UFC anyways. This is for the UFC Uruguay card. That's in August as well. Chris Gutierrez comes back, and he takes on Geraldo de Freitas Jr. So Chris Gutierrez, 13-4-1 record, 1-1 in the octagon. Lost to Raoni Barcelos, excuse me, in his UFC debut. Came back and beat Ryan McDonald a couple months ago by decision. I think the guy's pretty decent. He looked really good against Ryan McDonald, so that's interesting. Pretty good striking. And he's taking a Geraldo de Freitas Jr. here, 12-4 record. He's on 7-fight win streak, fights out of Brazil. So he'll be fighting pretty close to his home country here. I think it could go either way for sure. I mean, Freitas definitely has more momentum coming in this fight, but I liked how Gutierrez looked in that fight. And, just based on his resume, he's fought better fighters. Slightly bigger name, I guess. I mean, they're both not like huge names by any means, but I'd say Gutierrez might be slightly favored here. But again, another one of those fights could probably go either way. So definitely some promising fights here. But yeah, guys, that UFC 242 card, I mean, I'm hyping it up like crazy, but what a card. I mean, UFC's, they're killing it with this one. September 7th in Abu Dhabi. Again, Taisumov, Ferreira, Makhachev, Ramos, Taleb, Salikov, Pakalin, Azatar, Blades, Abdurakhimov, Taha, De Silva, Muhammad, Sato, and of course, Nurmagomedov versus Poirier. And that card's not completely booked yet. There's going to be other fights added to it. So definitely an interesting card. I like it so far. There's some good cards coming up here that, again, the UFC 241 card, 239, good cards coming up. Good for the UFC. They're making good fights. Okay, last thing to talk about here. The Invicta FC 35 card takes place tonight at Memorial Hall in Kansas City, Kansas. There's how many fights? 9 fights in the card. I'm just going to talk about the ones with odds. Okay, so let's go through it. Deanna Bennett takes on Karina Rodriguez. This is actually, I believe, a rematch. Okay, so Deanna Bennett, yep, it's a rematch. Deanna Bennett, 10-4-1 record. Karina Rodriguez she's 7-3. Bennett's -150. Rodriguez is +110. They have fought before, like I mentioned, and Bennett won by split decision in 2018, so last year. Since then, she's 1-1, while Rodriguez she's won one fight against Milena Dudieva since then. Both girls have some pretty good experience. I mean, this should be a pretty decent fight. Bennett, she's fought a lot of good fighters, actually. She's fought Roxanne. She's fought Jolie Escobar, Liviana Souza, Katja Kanakapa, who's really good at one time, Jennifer Mayo, Colleen Schneider, like Juliana Pena. She's fought a lot of good fighters. Definitely had a couple of hiccups there for a while. She was on a 3-fight losing streak, and then she had a draw. She made it to the UFC. She had a draw. They cut her. They let her go back to Invicta. Since then, she's 2-1. So, she's 34. So I don't know if you can call her a prospect, but we all know that UFC women's divisions are weak, and they could always use new fighters. So if she goes out there and picks up a good win here, the UFC might sign her. Rodriguez, 33. She's out of Mexico. She's also a little bit older, but again, she has some good experience against Grasso. She lost the decision to her. Patella lost the decision to her. She got knocked out to the body by her. I don't know. I think you got to go with Bennett here just based on the fact they fought before and she won a split decision. But, we saw it happen last night with Dan Spawn and Bizat Atia. It could happen again where someone wins the first fight and then loses the second fight. So look into that one a little bit more, guys. But yes, Bennett, again, -150. Rodriguez +110. I think the odds makers probably got that right. But, who knows what's going to happen tonight in that fight. What else? We have, Kanaka. I'm just going to pull these fights up. There's only 4 fights with odds. There's actually 9 fights in the cards, including the return of Kaylin Young, who I'm a big fan of. Okay, so next up, Kanako Murata taking on Liana Pearson. Let's see here. Murata, 9-1 record out of Japan. This is a strawweight fight. She's won 5 straight fights, including Ryzen, Deep, and Pancrase. She's only lost once in her career to Rina Kai. That's not a bad loss. Rina Kai is a pretty strong girl. She's beaten some pretty decent fighters. So this girl's looked good lately, and she's coming off of back-to-back shoulder choke submissions. So that's interesting. That shows me that she was fighting a level of competition that was way too low to where her current abilities are. So it's good that Invicta signed her. Probably a good signing for her. For them. And she's taking on Pearson here, 26 years old, 7-2 record out of Brazil. She's coming off a decision win in Immortal FC, I believe that's in Brazil. She's only fought really one notable name looking at her record. Viviane Pereira lost the decision to her. There's a reason why Murata is a huge favorite here. I mean, she's looked really good lately for sure, and she's finishing girls with submissions you don't see in those divisions. So she should be favored heavily here. But again, the level of competition does concern me a little bit. She's fighting, not so great fighters in Ryzen. She did beat Angela Magana by shoulder choke, and Luciana Green, who was in the Ultimate Fighter at one point, but I don't know. Like, the line seems a little high to me. I expect Murata to win for sure, but do you really want to lay -750 on her? I'm not 100% sure that's a good bet. Although, again, I do expect her to win the fight. What's next here? Okay, here's a decent fight. Lisa Sprangler against Katarina Lehner. So Sprangler, this is a bantamweight fight. Sprangler 2-0. not much experience, but she's won both her fights in Invicta, so she's looking at a good prospect. She does have quite a few amateur fights, and she's undefeated as an amateur as well. Taking on Lehner here. Lehner, 29 years old, 7-1, fighting out of Germany. We all remember her from last year. She fought Sarah Kaufman and got submitted by Sarah Kaufman. Before that, had been undefeated in her career. So an interesting prospect at one point. Doesn't have any real notable wins. Just Alexa Connors, I guess, is somewhat of a name in Invicta. No real notable wins. Again, Spangler's a favorite for a reason here. She doesn't have that much experience, though, so that does concern me a bit. But yes, 23 years old, so she's a lot younger, 6 years younger, and undefeated. So, I think the odds makers, again, they got it right with the odds on that one. Here's another one to talk about here. Alicia Zapatella against Viviane Ferreira. So this is an interesting fight because Ferreira actually missed weight. This is an atom weight fight, so 105. Remember Ferreira from the UFC. Ferreira, 13-3 record. She was in the UFC and she won back-to-back fights against Valerie Letourneau, which is a fight I saw. That was in Toronto. She won a split decision against Valerie, which was a good win at the time. She beat JD Moyle, and then she lost to Tatiana Suarez and Zhao and Yan and got cut, which, you know what? Looking back, I mean, that's kind of a strange cut because, well, first off, she was probably too small for that division. I get that, but she lost to two really good fighters. So to me, that's kind of a strange cut. Then she lost to Mizuki Inoue, who's another fighter should be in the UFC. So those aren't bad losses by any means. She did miss weight by 0.7 pounds. That does concern me a little bit. But again, she's been fighting at strawweight for the last couple of years. Maybe atomweight's not her division. She could be a tweener between atomweight and strawweight. She's coming in here and she's taking on Alicia Zapatella, 5-0 and 1 no contest record. I mean, they're both really small girls. Ferreira's 5'0", 5'0", and Zapatella's 4'11", so she's really small. I mean, she's tiny. She's won all of, well, she had 1 no contest due to a failed drug test in Kabachi's, and she's won all her other fights. Anything notable? Amber Brown, I guess, is somewhat of a name. Almost all of her wins are by decision, though, which concerns me again. Honestly, like, even with the weight miss, though, I kind of lean towards Ferreira. I know she's on a losing streak here, but she's fought way better fighters. She's still only 25 years old. That win over Letourneau showed me that she can hang with some pretty good competition. Zapatella, good prospect, 24 years old. They're both young. Maybe she does win, but I don't know. I'd rather take a shot at the dog in this one, guys. So I'd rather go with Ferreira. I plus 135, even with the weight miss. It was only 0.7 pounds. It's not like she was, killing herself or something like that. I think it's definitely interesting. So again, pretty decent fights from what I see here. Closely matched fights, except for that one with the huge favorite. But definitely take a look at those odds. Also, there's odds out for Combachi 39, Unbreakable. Nick Kalikas, my boss, actually, I think did those odds. Just looking at that card, one guy that's notable would be Esteban Payan. He used to fight in the UFC. He got destroyed by Jeremy Stephens. He's a big underdog there. I haven't really taken a look at that one yet, but definitely take a look at that one, guys. Some good fights. But yeah, overall, Invicta card looks okay. That's tonight. I believe that's on Fight Pass. PFL last night was on ESPN and on TSN in Canada, I believe. And tomorrow night, guys, UFC 238. I can't wait for this card, guys. I'll be doing the play-by-play for sure, dogs. So definitely check that out. Even if you're watching, check it out. If you're not watching, definitely read it because I'll catch you up on everything that's happening. But even if you're watching the card, check it out. We do our scoring. It'll be me, probably Cole Sheldon, Jay Petrie, Ant Walker. We have a really good team actually doing the scoring. So definitely check that out. But yes, I cannot wait for that fight. I'm just going to double check one thing right now. I want to see if there's any weight misses. Have we had anything yet? Nothing yet, guys. I don't think there's any weight misses yet. So definitely keep an eye out because they are doing the weigh-ins right now. But I don't see anything. What's going on here? Someone's saying, okay, Aaron Bronzer, my friend, this is about 10:45 in the morning on Friday morning right now. Aaron says that Jessica Ai, Pedro Munoz, and Blagoy Ivana still have to weigh in. So, I mean, Ivanov's heavyweight should be fine. That's a little concerning. I mean, she's only made 125 a couple times. It's a title fight. She has to make 125 on the dot. So I hope she makes weight because I don't think there's a backup plan if that fight does fall off. But I think she'll be okay. And then Munoz, yeah, hopefully he makes weight. But if he doesn't, that fight will still go on. It's not a title fight. But again, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else. Oh, and actually, Nolan King, my good friend, just broke a fight here. Scott Holtzman against Dongyan Ma. So that's an interesting fight. That's on the China card as well. So interesting fight there. Scott Holtzman. Let me just pull the records out here. That just got broken right now, guys. Scott Holtzman, 12-3 record, off decision loss to Nick Lentz. Overall, he's 5-3 in the UFC. Decent fighter, former hockey player. Love the guy. And then taking on Dongyang Maestro Kim, Dongyang Ma. Changed his last name because they didn't want to confuse him with the bigger Dongyang Kim. He's, what is he, 3-3 in the UFC. I actually mentioned him on the podcast yesterday because he got knocked out by Devontae Smith. He just got a fight booked. He's coming off that locker loss to Devontae Smith, but before that, he won a couple of fights. This should be a good fight. Love both those guys. They're using good scraps. Haven't had a chance to think about it. Just saw the announcement right now. But considering it's in Asia, maybe Maul gets slightly favored, although the fact Holtzman was such a big favorite against Lent makes you think that there will be some respect shown to him. Could see close to a pick-em fight, but again, don't know because that fight's still a couple months away, and who knows if it even happens. We see guys get injured all the time. So I think that's all I want to talk about, guys. Again, keep your eyes peeled to Twitter. If there's any weight misses or anything like that, I'll talk about it on my Twitter. But yeah, as of right now, all the fights at UFC 238 should be good to go. Invicta FC 35 tonight. PFL 14 was last night. Guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Always talking about MMA, always posting my new articles, so definitely follow me on there. Check me out at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Check out this podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Check us out on SoundCloud. Check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please watch the videos. What else? BJPen.com. I'm always posting stuff there. Sherdog.com. Again, play-by-play. Just posted my prime pick, so check that out. MMArings.net. Check that out. Another website right for. And MMAnews.com. So I'm everywhere, guys. I'm always talking about MMA. I love this sport. I've been doing this since 2011, professionally as a journalist. So I love it. It's what I was meant to do, guys. Love talking about the fights. So definitely check it out. Check out my podcast. Check out my article. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the fights, guys. And I'll see you guys Monday morning to talk about UFC 238 and whatever else happened in the crazy world we call mixed martial arts. Have a good day.